us who have this dichotomy called secular and spiritual. So we think we go to work and then we go to church.
So when you talk about transformation of peoples and nations, we are talking about no dichotomy between the nations and the
Absolutely.
people. Individually, your life should be excelling
so the same
and thriving.
way I stand up to speak and teach and activate something is the same way your business is sent.
Okay, so this is a sent business
Yes.
with a mission.
Clear-cut mission.
And one of the things with God, it's always about transformation of lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your business must first cause transformation of its own individuals.
Okay.
Remember why we spoke in another broadcast about Noah? Starts in the family.
Yes.
Meaning, if your business does not have kingdom values in it, and the staff working in it do not have these two things, spiritual growth and economic growth, that business can't be sent.
Oh, so you're talking about if you have a kingdom business, if you say you're a kingdom business person, your organization must change the lives of those working in it.
Within it.
Both spiritually, economically.
Yep.
So we cannot have also a kingdom business, call it a kingdom business, and economically your people are totally oppressed.
So you're this Christian CEO, and your people pray every day. Morning, you guys pray.
Yes.
Lunch hour, you pray. You take a break. In the evening, before a project, you pray. But the increase in prayer is not commensurate with the increase in income.
So you cannot look at your staff and say, by the way, I'm operating the same kingdom, worldly principles in a kingdom business. Meaning that if we talk of increase, people out there should look at your staff and say, surely there's increase. We can see increase.
That is it.
Spiritually, and economically.
That's a key.
I mean, we are talking about increase. You know, when you talk about increase in companies, there are many CEOs who will be like, my friend, let's talk of spiritual increase. I will preach to them. But when you start talking to economic, because let me give an example now. We're in a COVID season. As a kingdom business, did you cut the salaries of your staff? Or did you believe that God, in this same season, can give them an increase? Now, when we talk of kingdom businesses, we know of businesses that
gave people an increase in COVID. Kingdom businesses.
Realize that when you're talking about the world, they take advantage of COVID season that we don't have money, therefore we go on a pay cut, whether they have money or not.
In fact, let me say it outright, and this is not a prophecy, it's a fact. It's going to be very difficult for these businesses to restore your salaries after COVID.
Oh, yes. So as a kingdom person, you have to go back to your father and say, listen, this is the world. If COVID allowed them to go down 25% or 50%, my friend, only God will save you. Because there's no time the world will come and tell you, now we
have recovered.
We are post-COVID, we have recovered. They will not. In fact, we said something. They will ask themselves a good question. You mean you can work so well on a 50%? You're doing so well.
You mean you can also work from home and reduce all my overheads?
So we are coming to a place of kingdom business. What is a kingdom business? As a kingdom citizen, and you're out there operating a kingdom business, how do you treat your staff? How do you view their growth? Do you see it as a competition? Because there are people who don't want their staff to grow in case they left. Or do you see them called to you? This is all about kingdom business.
And there's no way God is going to give you increase when your people are not increasing. The base has to increase the same way the height increases.
A call to kingdom business. Realize we're not talking about the church, we're talking about kingdom. And when you talk about kingdom, there's a higher responsibility. The standards are higher. The bar has just been raised. And this is when you need to ask yourself, am I a kingdom business person or a church business person? Because that will determine how you operate post-COVID. This is Business Unusual. Keep tracking. and welcome to Business Unusual. This is where we are discussing kingdom business in a season that is so interesting to live in. And in this season, we are saying that heaven must have a design, a pattern of how kingdom business should carry themselves. When the world is saying that things are going south, the kingdom is saying things are just getting better. We've been defining kingdom business, and one of the things we said is that it takes on the form or the core driver of commitment to sustainable transformation to the community it affects. My name is Susan Opio, and my co-host
Charles Opio.
And of course we continue talking about kingdom business. What is the functionality of a kingdom business?
And I think as we talk of its functionality, we also talk about the environment it's functioning in. I think in the last segment we spoke strongly about Haggai and how the shaking of the heavens and the earth.
Yes.
We also want to bring out the context of Isaiah that talks about darkness covering the earth, yet your light is shining.
Two realities at the same time.
In the same context.
And this is one of those days when you're experiencing a crisis, yet in that crisis, the Bible is calling you to arise because your light has come. Meaning, you're supposed to experience two different realities in the same environment.
At the same time, so you must choose your reality. Is your reality in the darkness, in the shaking?
Yes.
Or is your reality in the light, in the emerging? That's where we are.
Yes.
That means in spite of these activities, a kingdom business must have profitability and sustainability. In
a season when everything is seemingly looking like it's dying.
And why do we say that? Because there's this idea that we are working for God.
Okay.
So we're just working. Don't worry, even if things are not working. No, it's a kingdom business. That term has to be understood.
Yes.
We said it must increase, which means it must have profitability and sustainability. That means that it should be able to take care of itself. It should be able to grow. Sustaining has got to do with internal.
Okay.
Profit has to do with increase.
Okay, let's talk about that. Because like you said earlier, when we talk about anything kingdom, we always think when you're working for God, you don't need to profit.
Exactly.
You don't need to grow.
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
That's very crucial, because if we don't understand the concept of profitability and sustainability, then the business will crash and then we'll say God did not bless you.
No. God wanted me out of that business. That's always what we say.
Yes.
God didn't want me there. That's why my business went down.
So what is sustainable? First of all, sustainable has got a connotation of being prophetically accurate.
All right.
All right? Knowing that in the season you are in, your business is relevant. In the season that you're in, what you're offering changes, like you've just said, transforms communities. So it remains functional and relevant.
Yes.
So what sustains it is that there is continuous requirement for its existence.
That means as a business owner, kingdom business owner, you must always be asking yourself, how relevant am I in my season, in my time? Is my business needed?
Yes.
Because when you talk about sustainability, it actually calls for relevance.
Absolutely.
So you're always asking yourself, where am I? Am I relevant?
Exactly. In other words, in your chain of functionality, when an environment changes even a little, like during COVID, if the change made you irrelevant, then you have a problem with sustainability.
Okay.
In other words, if working from home took away your business, that business is not a kingdom business. In fact, during this season of working from home, your relevance should occur. Remember, in the darkness, your light should shine.
Yes.
When things are going south, you are there. When things are going north, you're there. In other words, no shift of season affects you.
So that means when you talk of a kingdom business, the foundation is core.
Yes.
Because the foundation is what will determine your sustainability.
Yes.
The process when things are being shaken, the only thing that can keep you firm is your foundation.
Yes.
And your foundation is the knowledge that this is not just another kingdom business or another business. This is a kingdom business founded on principles that cannot be shaken.
Yes. So the first core, as we've said, has got to be profitability and sustainability. The second has got to be a kingdom business creates work. It's involved in work and wealth creation. And I'm very careful to say work.
Okay, let's define work. Because most of the time when you talk of work, we might hear jobs.
Exactly. And now I think it's important to raise something, because sometimes when this is said, people think we are fighting jobs.
Okay.
A job came out of the context of a fall. Work pre-existed the fall. Right?
Yes.
Because the Bible is very clear that Adam was working. All right? But now, at the fall, he was told, with the sweat of your brow and with toil. So work and toil are different.
Okay.
Toil is when you work very hard under strenuous circumstances and produce little. Work is when you work at ease and produce much.
So Adam before the fall was working.
Yes.
Adam after the fall was toiling.
Exactly.
Now when you talk of job creation or work creation, we are talking about two systems.
Absolutely.
There is one system that gives you a job that you toil.
Yes.
Now explain to us, when you talk about toiling, what do we mean? So that we understand, as you're listening, you ask yourself, am I toiling or am I working?
Yes.
That's a key question.
Yeah. First of all, the bottom line of toil is outcome.
Yes.
Outcome economically, outcome spiritually, outcome health-wise. Remember all the things we talked about Noah in another environment.
Yes.
So this thing you're calling work, if your family is breaking down while you're doing it.
Yes.
If, and it's not only about lack of income. You can be having great income, but you're at a job, which means it has taken you away from everything else. So you are, in other words, if you stop working, everything crumbles. That job is where your fear lies. In fact, you fear losing your job more than you even think about hearing from God.
Yes, because when you talk about a job, you say that if it's taking you away from your family, though you're making a lot of money, so don't judge your activities with money.
Yes.
Judge with, when you talked about transforming lives, is your life being transformed or destroyed? Because if whatever you're engaged in is taking you away from your family, it is not transforming, it's actually killing. But if you're stuck on defining your success by how much you're getting, not how much you're transforming both yourself, your family, and those around you. So a breaking family is a good sign.
Remember what we talked about? A kingdom business does what? Has impact in which two realms? Spiritual and economic. So if your function is only economic and there's no spiritual or family value, then there's a problem. If your system is only spiritual and there is no economic value to your family, you're still in the same problem. So both ends of the stick are wrong. Because there are places where we are highly spiritual but there's no economy. There are places where we are highly economical, but the spiritual side has died. So work is that context. A job mostly creates those two endpoints.
You are on either end of the pendulum.
But work creates an environment where your entire structure is functional. In other words, what you're doing, first of all, it is fulfilling. It is enjoyable, but it's still making change and it is profitable.
Now, remember, we are taking this from Genesis. When man fell, God told him, now, because of what you have done, with sweat will you eat. The ground, you'll put a lot, but you'll get out very little. Meaning, before the fall, there was no sweat.
Absolutely.
After the fall, there is sweat. Now, today, we all say with pride that I am sweating to put food on the table. It was not meant to be. Because for God to tell man that now that you've done this, you will sweat. The ground will not bring out easily. What does that tell you? Before the fall, the ground was supposed to. Now, if you look at what you're doing, if you're putting in so much and getting out so little, you are toiling. And that's what we are saying. There's a difference between work and job. If you're in a job, you are toiling. Where you put in a lot, get out very little. If you're working, you even enjoy what you're doing, because what you're doing is part of what you're created to do.
And so your work, it is irrelevant whether you are in an organization or you're doing it for yourself. It is still work. And it must have both connotations. Irrelevant.
Can we say here, just sorry to cut you short, that there are some people who are working in a church environment, but they are toiling?
Absolutely. That's true.
That's sad.
Because toiling means you're in a church environment, but it's not benefiting you. Yet, and you know the worst thing about that, you'll get frustrated with God. You get offended with God. You begin to feel, I've done so much, nothing works. And God is not, listen, God is not obligated to respond to you because you work in the church. God is obligated to you because you work where He placed you. Now those are two. It could be in the church, it could be outside the church. as we will see.
Yes.
So the issue is about work. And what is the definition of work? Let's go back to Genesis.
Yes.
In the garden, God offered them food before he offered them work.
So you don't work for provision?
Never.
So if you're working for provision, let's
There's
go
a
back
problem.
again. You're jobbing, you're not working.
Exactly. He said, of every tree freely eat.
You
Meaning,
shall eat.
there is no labor you can do so that you can eat.
So provision came before work.
Yes.
So now again after the fall, we redefined and said that now
Yes.
I work for food.
Yes. That was the fall.
Yes.
When man fell, he said, and the ground shall produce little.
Yes.
Through the sweat of your brow you shall eat. Eating was never the result of work.
It's a consequence of sin, of
Exactly.
falling. And right now, we have many people who are defining themselves.
Thank you.
That even God said that
Yes.
we will eat with sweat.
Yes.
Yes, if you're in a fallen position.
And we've turned everything around. The
Yes.
breadwinner. It's a competition. Everything has gone off center.
Yeah.
God's provision had nothing to do with work. God's provision had to do with wealth creation. Let's go back.
Okay.
He said you may eat freely.
Yes.
And then he gave a command, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. Those two things were not connected.
So when you're talking about job
Yes.
and you're talking about work, can you
Yes.
say that we're not removing
Yes.
the activity? We're not saying that you should
No.
not be working in the
No.
sense of what we understand.
Yes.
But we are saying you should be in a place where when you work, it does not
Exactly.
cause you to sweat,
Yes.
to toil,
Yes.
to put in so much and get in so little.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So work, God is interested in wealth creation. What is wealth creation? Is when your work is fulfilling.
Yes.
When your work keeps you closer to him. Adam walked with God in the cool of the day. And when your work still brings wealth. And the wealth affects the well-being of others.
And now you said that when you talk of kingdom businesses,
Yes.
there's work
Yes.
and there's, of course, wealth creation.
Yes.
Before that, we talked about profitability and sustainability.
Exactly.
The Bible says that God told them, be fruitful.
Yes.
Profitable.
Be profitable.
When you talk about fruitfulness,
Yes.
you're talking about profitability.
And you see, unfortunately in a church context, we have such an emphasis on be faithful,
Not fruitful.
not fruitful.
So we have a lot of people calling themselves sons of God who
Yes.
are very faithful.
Yes.
But they're not fruitful.
Exactly. So we are saying in the kingdom, you are faithful and fruitful. These are not opposite.
Faithfulness is an internal thing.
Yes.
Fruitfulness is external. Now,
Yes.
when we see a lot of faithfulness, or we sense, I don't know how to call it, but you're so faithful, praying and reading the Bible, and those are internal things.
Yes.
But when we talk about profitability, you will always notice that when people talk of the church, they say one thing: the church is not fruitful.
Exactly.
You're not fruitful.
And the only reason you're not fruitful is very simple. As long as you're farming in the wrong garden, you'll produce the wrong fruit.
Say that again. Say that again.
It's not about labor. It's about posture. It's about where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
In other words, as long as you're functioning in a place you're not equipped for, you will have a problem. And let me throw something that may seem unrelated but is very parallel.
Okay.
Many people have the misunderstanding of the apostles, the disciples of Jesus.
Okay.
Many people have always seen them as these unlearned people that Jesus took.
Yes.
That later people were saying, look at these guys, they are so unlearned yet profound. Now, if you understand scripture, they didn't mean unlearned as in illiterate. They meant the knowledge they have did not come from our schools. Okay? Now, let's reverse the principle. Because man has failed and God is what? Restoring us.
Yes.
Jesus did not get fishermen whom he turned into apostles.
Okay.
Jesus went and called apostles who had gone fishing.
They were in the wrong
Correct.
career.
That's a principle.
And that's where we got this statement that God takes nobodies and makes them
No, he
somebodies.
doesn't.
Now that is so wrong, because God
Yes.
never created a nobody.
There's no
God
nobody.
never created somebody who has nothing to make
Yes.
them something.
No.
Those are statements we make from a fallen position.
Yes.
God created you as someone.
Yes.
You fell. You've not found your place.
Yes.
Therefore, you're calling yourself a nobody.
Yes. So
All
when
right?
he retrieves you, just put it this way. If you've been living as a bird all your life and
Yes.
you're a fish, you will be a nobody in the bird kingdom.
Because you will not thrive. You can't fly.
Yeah, fish is a nobody in the bird kingdom.
You don't have wings.
Exactly.
So when you compare yourself with the birds,
Yes.
you think you're a failure.
nobody.
Yet you're in the wrong place.
Exactly.
Wow.
So the primary option of work is wealth creation and work. But work starts with placement in the right environment. When you put a fish into water, you don't teach it how to swim.
It's natural.
It's in its natural habitat.
So when you're in a place where you're toiling, the reason you are toiling is because you're in the wrong place.
Yes.
You don't know how to do these things. So you're actually exerting a lot of labor and energy, and yet to get out, you're getting out so little because you're in the wrong place. You're a bird in water, or a fish on the air.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Adam in the garden has no toil. Yet, same effort, same energy.
Yes.
Same skills. Outside the garden, those skills become a toil. Because it's now wrongly placed. And God did not say, you will toil until you become a master of toiling.
We are mastering the wrong thing.
He said you will toil until you return.
And returning here is not in heaven, not until you die. Because if God tells you that you're going to eat little, the ground will not bring forth. And for the Eve, he said, you will have pain.
Yes.
Now, you can't tell them all this and tell them until you return, meaning until you die. Is God telling you?
God is not confused.
He's not confused.
God is not confused because God said earlier to them, if you eat of the tree, you will surely
die.
So dying was already a discussion.
Yes, if you eat.
So if God wanted to say die, he had not run out of words.
Okay.
He would have said, remember what I told you. You shall surely die. So you will work until you die. No, he didn't say that.
Yes.
The dying was already settled. They were going to work until they die. But when it came to eating, the ground, different story.
Yes.
The ground will not produce for you until you return. Different meaning.
So when you use the word until, you are saying that there's a point where when you reach this point,
the ground will behave again.
Things will change.
Yes.
So when we talk about you returning to the ground, of course, that's a topic for another day.
Yes.
But returning to the ground is not when you're buried, when you're dead. That's an interpretation of a fallen position where we think God is saying that you will sweat until you return to the ground. Let me ask you, if you sweat until you return to the ground, where are you sweating in the ground?
Yes.
You're dead.
No,
if you
let's assume the toil will end when you enter the ground. You are dead.
You are dead. You don't care whether the ground produces or not. You know?
Yes.
So it must have meant something different.
It meant returning to the environment where you will be. And I know we've also taught that there are two angels who stood to guard the way to the tree.
Yes.
Right? Listen to English. This is not even Hebrew.
Yes.
This is English.
Yes.
Or protecting.
You are actually guiding.
The way.
Yes.
If I am blocking, I am stopping you from entering.
So this one was standing there and with light.
Yes.
What is the light for? To show you the way. And you see the Bible says that when Adam ate, God took him out of the ground and put him outside. The Bible even says outside the ground.
Yes.
Then when God is talking to them, he says, listen, you will restoration. And that is why when Jesus came, we always talk about him coming to reconnect us with the Father, putting us back in the garden.
Yes.
When you come to this place of the garden where you fell from, that jobbing, that's my word.
Yeah.
You want to stop jobbing, go back to the place of working. This is the place called the ground where you came from.
When you get there, things change. Now, if you stay in the toil world, and I'm still talking to kingdom business people.
Yes.
In the toil world, you will work very hard, and you know what you'll enter? Riches. Now, here's the problem. How come rich people can't stop? Why are you always trying to get more? Because the toil never ends. To sustain that, you have to work even harder.
Yes.
To maintain that, you have to work so the toil never changes. And what is the price you pay?
Your health.
You pay the price of your health.
Yes.
You pay the price of anything. So the Bible doesn't speak of getting rich, though it says, let the rich. It acknowledges them.
Yeah.
Listen, the Bible has no problem with you getting rich.
Yeah.
Do not misquote us. The Bible is telling you, arriving at riches, Timothy says, those who have pursued riches have pierced themselves with many sorrows. They have pursued